two special guests that have come this evening after a long day book selling in the book marathon in Maidstone all day. So they've been out in the cold, so we need to give them a warm welcome.
Thank you. We've just got one more coming, Sadashiva.
He's coming.
He's bringing a harmonium, small one. So we'll just start singing. Prema was going to play Mridanga. Are we sitting down? Let's all stand up and
here, we can make a seat here for you.
everyone can stand up and we'll sing for the pleasure of the deity.
Yeah.
We'll have a sit down kirtan after.
Yes.
Let's stand up, warm
Let's
ourselves
do it
up.
differently.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Jai Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Shri Harinam Sankirtan ki Jai. I was just in Bombay. I met this gentleman down in South India. I said, I've got to stay in Bombay for one night. Would you put me up? He was a gentleman. He said, yeah, of course. So he put me up, and he ended up putting me up in this room, in this temple. And it was like one of these, right downtown Bombay, with all the universities and temples, and very pious people, nice area. And so I was staying in a Krishna temple, and there was a big program there. It was a beautiful, renovated temple, but it was built into a block of flats. So it was quite interesting. It was all been renovated. It was super beautiful, and they had the deity of Krishna. But the evening program, they had a festival, and the evening program was just Bharatanatyam dances, one after another, after another, after another. You know. So not all devotees of Krishna know that this chanting is the best thing to do nowadays in Kali Yuga. So if they're followers of Lord Chaitanya, they get the mercy of Prabhupada. They take up this Kirtan. So they're all gathered there, a few hundred people, maybe 400 or 500. But it was just watching dance, you know, little children dancing and some other, one dance after another. I think that there was 3 dance troupes, and so they did 2 dances each, and that was it. So it was a bit disappointing. But if they chanted Hare Krishna, they were selling Prabhupada's Bhagavad Gita on the entrance. Quite interesting. Very interesting, India. India's a very interesting place. Why have you left India and come to England? Yes, for work. So here in Rochester, we're up to the second canto, second chapter of Bhagavad Gita. Last time we finished the first chapter. Yeah. So we'll just pick up something from the beginning of the second chapter. So along with chanting Hare Krishna, discussion of Bhagavad Gita, and hearing about Krishna together is a very wonderful thing, because also people don't have much time to hear about Krishna. They're very busy working. So if we have the time to hear about Krishna, we're extremely fortunate. We have to appreciate, just a small way, how fortunate we are to hear about Krishna tonight, now, in this place. There's millions of things you could be doing, and there's millions and millions of people in the world. But hearing about Krishna is the same as being with Krishna. So you're Mamai Vamsa, Jiva Loka, Jiva Bhuta. We're the Jiva Bhuta. We're part and parcel of Krishna. But we are wandering around this universe, completely wasting our time. We're looking to taste some nectar. And every now and then we get a little drop of nectar and we think it's great. For example, sometimes, my son was sick recently. So he was really sick. He had tonsillitis, fever, and coughing. So when he stopped coughing after 2.5, 3 weeks, it was like ecstasy. I felt blissful. Now, is that real happiness? No. That's not real pleasure. That's just relief from suffering. See? So when we get some relief from our misery, we think we're happy. We call that happiness. So material world is like a blazing fire. It's a burning fire, and we're all suffering all the time, actually. And every now and then we get some relief, and we think this is great. Now we're happy. So this is an actual pleasure. It's called Maya. It's called illusion. Only pleasure is available when we have spontaneous love for Krishna. We're always with Krishna, associating with Krishna, and rendering unlimited service to Him without a care in the world. As soon as we want our own happiness separate from Krishna, then all our troubles begin. This is the beginning of all our troubles. So there's no solution, really, taking up some kind of good karma, or some study and knowledge, some meditation, yoga, renunciation confirmed. See, there's no, that's not really the solution. See, if you have a nice screw, you know these screws are actually very beautiful things. They go around in a, what's it called, a spiral or a, Spiral, yeah. They're intricate things, but the screw on its own is useless. You can have a nice screw, you can look at this beautiful screw, but the screw only becomes useful when it's put back in the machine where it's meant to be, or the tool, whatever. So you can never find any relief, any permanent solution to all our problems unless we connect it to Krishna. And this is the purpose of Bhagavad Gita, to begin the connection to Krishna. Krishna is laying down the foundational philosophy, foundational knowledge, full logic. It's not a sentimental religion, it's not a belief system. All these things, it's a modern idea, this idea that religion is a belief, you know. That you just believe and then you get on with your material life. So this is called self-deception. Still, there's a lot of good to say about mundane religion. It's not all bad, there's some very good things there. But from an absolute point of view, it's also not helpful for us. So, where was I? So, yeah. Connection to Krishna. So Bhagavad Gita is based upon logic, logical, sound, spirituality, spiritual knowledge about God and the soul must be fully logical. Cannot be sentimental or, fanaticism. It must have sound, scientific, spiritual, logical, sequence. So religion without philosophy is fanaticism, and philosophy without religion is just dry mental speculation. So in Krishna consciousness there's a direct, all the posters are falling down. And that's because they're printed in China. So philosophy, dry mental speculation. So this doesn't help us. Actually, because we're living spiritual beings, we're living persons, and we need positive engagement. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, when he met Ramananda Roy 500 years ago, he asked him, please tell me about the goal of life. And Ramananda Roy quotes from Bhagavad Gita, he says, Sarvadharma prityajya mam ekam, only me, surrender to me, and I'll protect you. Now Krishna spoke this verse, very famous verse in the Bhagavad Gita. Give up all other duties and surrender unto me. But Chaitanya Mahaprabhu didn't accept it. He said, that's nice, but I don't really accept this as the proper explanation of how to attain the goal of life. So Krishna's got 5 excellences, and one of them is that he spoke this verse summarizing all spiritual and philosophical knowledge. But Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Krishna himself, has not accepted it as a good explanation, because it didn't give any details about the positive practice of devotional service. So the next verse, Ramananda Roy tried out on Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, says, Jnane prayasam udapasya, says, Stani stita shrutigatam, that you just have to hear about Krishna. Now this is a positive thing to do. So here's the material world. We've given it up to some degree. We're just going to live in it, and we're going to do positive things. We're going to hear about Krishna from devotees, and we're going to hear about Krishna's pastimes. So Bhagavad Gita, going back to where I was, is the logical foundation for our intelligence. Who is Krishna? What is his position? And what is our position? So that is all explained in Bhagavad Gita. And from there you can read our other books. We have Srimad Bhagavatam, which is a much bigger book, and there's got all the stories and pastimes of Krishna and his incarnations, and that enlightens us further, because that gives us the positive description of the Supreme Being, his multifarious forms, incarnations, and ultimately his original feature. Sorry?
You didn't see anything back.
No. Forget the posters, okay? They're distracting. So, bearing in mind that this ABC knowledge of Bhagavad Gita, we've just finished the first chapter. Who's been following the first chapter here? A few of you. Yeah. So, in the second chapter, Krishna says, Sanjay is speaking. Sanjay is relating the information from afar, from a distant place, to Dhritarashtra, who's a very interested person because his sons are on the battlefield on the opposite side to Krishna. So Sanjay said, seeing Arjuna full of compassion, his mind depressed, his eyes full of tears, Madhusudan Krishna spoke the following words. Purport. Material compassion, lamentation, and tears are all signs of ignorance of the real self. Compassion for the spiritual soul is self-realization. The word Madhusudan is significant in this verse. Lord Krishna killed a demon named Madhu, and now Arjuna wanted Krishna to kill the demon of misunderstanding that had overtaken him in the discharge of his duty. No one knows where compassion should be applied. Compassion for the dress of a drowning man is senseless. A man fallen in the ocean of nescience cannot be saved simply by rescuing his outward dress, the gross material body. One who does not know one who does not know this, I forgot my glasses, and laments for the outward dress is called a Sudra, or one who laments unnecessarily. Arjuna was a Kshatriya, and this conduct was not expected from him. Lord Krishna, however, can anticipate the lamentation of the ignorant man, and for the purpose the Bhagavad Gita was sung by him, and for this purpose. This chapter instructs us in self-realization by an analytical study of the material body and the spirit soul, as explained by the Supreme Authority, Lord Sri Krishna. This realization is possible when one works without attachment to fruitive results and is situated in the fixed conception of the real self. Hare Krishna. Om Jnana Timirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chaksasun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. So when we come to Krishna consciousness, the early stage is called Shraddha, or having faith in Krishna consciousness, and the next stage is association of devotees, and then the next stage is taking up the practices, chanting Hare Krishna, hearing, and maybe start offering some worship to Krishna, offering him a flower, offering him some incense, bhajana kriya. So in Krishna consciousness there's 64 items of devotional service, like fasting on Ekadasi, attending festivals, going to the temple, circumambulating the temple, respecting the Tulsi tree, taking a spiritual master, hearing about Krishna. So these 64 are there, and a lot of them are not very practical for us in England because we don't have a temple, etc. And we don't have Tulsi, we don't have so many things. But those 64 can be shrunk into 9. And of the first 2 is hearing and chanting, and the third one is remembering of those 9. So chanting and hearing are the most important. Shravanadi Shuddha Chitte. By hearing, it's like if a sleeping man is, if a man is sleeping, the best way to wake him up is by sound. His ear is still working to some degree. That's why people use alarm clocks, right? In Indian culture, the spiritual master is meant to be woken from sleep by sweet music. Or the king, the king is there, he wants to be woken up, so they play very nice, beautiful music. So these 9 items of devotional service are to be practiced. And hearing means that one has to hear everything about Krishna that's possible. The whole Bhagavad Gita, then the whole Srimad Bhagavatam. And after a while, anartha-nivritti, one becomes more interested in Krishna consciousness and gives up his interest in other activities which are not spiritual. And then, like it says here, one becomes fixed in consciousness. So this fixed in consciousness is what we're trying to achieve. We're trying to achieve that when we wake up in the morning, first thing we do is say Krishna's name, Hare Krishna. In India, when the sun rises, in the holy places, all the Brahmins come and they chant all these prayers to the sun as it rises above the horizon. When the sun's rising above the horizon, it looks very, very beautiful. And similarly, on the eastern horizon, if there's no moon there on the horizon, it's just darkness. So, to come into the light, we need to always be fixed in Krishna consciousness as much as possible. Therefore, we have these vidhis, these regulations that you do this. And if you do it, chant Hare Krishna in the morning, hear about Krishna a little, 10 minutes a day before you go to work, read Bhagavad Gita. Then gradually your mind becomes withdrawn from thinking fruitively. Mentioned this fruitive activity. So our mind is addicted for material happiness, material pleasure, and we have to break the cycle of our mental addictions. Not so easy thing. In this modern age, we're all very, very busy with mental addictions and distractions. So, tuliyama levanarapi, that if one associates with devotees, this is the moksha dwaram, the gateway to your liberation. And if you associate with materialistic people, that is the gateway to the wrong path. So it's a very basic, simple choice you have, and unfortunately there's not enough devotees in the world. Someone had to come all the way from Margate to be with the devotees. That's quite a way, 1 hour? Yeah.
About 2 hours.
2 hours?
Hour 45.
Yeah. So we need more devotees, and devotees have to become, you have to speed up your qualification so you can help others. Bharati bhumiti manusya janma sataka kari kala para upakar. That anyone who's born in a human body in India should become a guru and liberate others. Become fixed up in this consciousness. So it's not so difficult thing actually, but we have to accept Krishna. And sometimes we have some obstacles. We want to speculate, or we want to enjoy the material world too much. Therefore we keep Krishna at a distance, and we do mechanical devotional service. So we've got to get beyond that stage and do it with feeling. That is the real purpose. When you hear about Krishna, you're supposed to develop feeling for him. So generally, we don't hear about Krishna very much. In Srimad Bhagavatam, there's all the incarnations of Krishna, And when you read about them, you get certain potencies. By hearing, it has a certain potency in your consciousness. So one after another, all the incarnations are described, and then finally Krishna is described. And actually, there's a summary of his pastimes in the 3rd canto. So that hearing gives potency to your heart, to you. So then when you chant Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, you begin to think and feel for Krishna. This is the path. Then you actually become attracted to Krishna. And you want to be Krishna conscious. It's not, you don't have to force yourself anymore. Like, you know. So this is the progress. This is the system, and one is meant to develop this Krishna consciousness on his own, with his own intelligence. That's the basic philosophy there. Is there any points of discussion?
Yeah.
Prema?
You mentioned mechanical.
Mm.
Can you elaborate on that? What's the real and what's the mechanical?
Yeah. Prabhupada says we have to become conscious and then Krishna conscious. So there are many offenses you can do, like if you go to the temple, see the deity and pray for a material thing, then that's nice. You've gone to God, you approach God. But if you go and offer some service and try your best, then that's coming out of the mechanical religious duty. You want to try to make advancement. It's like you study the book but you don't really want to understand it. You may read it, but you don't really want to understand what Krishna is telling you. Or you may chant, okay, I've done my 16 rounds, now I'm going to go and watch the football, or make money, or, you know, I'm going to forget about Krishna consciousness. I just do it because I'm supposed to do it, or I give some money to the guru and then I think I'm going to get salvation. You know, we've got to get out of this idea that we're just doing something for a goal. The actual, the goal is right now to be had. And the liberation. We want to be liberated from all misery. And that's only when we connect with Krishna. So we've got to keep trying for that, not to be satisfied with just, oh, you know, I've done my rounds, I've done my reading. We want to experience Krishna. We want to remember Krishna intensely. So we've got to try we've got to put more effort, basically push ourselves and become more aware of our Krishna. Because when you practice Krishna consciousness, you realize how much problems you have in terms of you're not really attached to Krishna. You're not very advanced spiritually, you're still materialistic. So it's like when you clean a room, but when the sunlight comes into the room, you see all the dust. It's much easier when the sun shines in the room. So it's in your heart. When you practice Krishna consciousness, you start to see the obstacles that are there, then you have to overcome them. So if you're practicing mechanically, you won't want to look at them, you will ignore them, you just carry on without addressing your issues. Oh, I don't have actually much taste for chanting. Then you become more real, so it becomes more and more real for you. Like, our biggest fear in life is to be a person. And have actual emotions and actual feelings. That's why the devotees, when they have a loving relationships, you know, you go to India, the people, they are very caring and loving towards each other, much more in the West, I find. They have much, you know, Really care. Like if you remember, I hit my head once. I was out in Vrindavan. I hit my head, and there was like people come, and they were all, they were so caring, you know. If you hit your head in Rochester, and people will pass you, you know. No, I mean, I'm just trying to explain a deeper topic in the way that, we have to be deep. Our Krishna consciousness has to go deep. Can't be a shallow thing. It's the heart. What we're trying to do is overcome millions of lifetimes of conditioning. Not easy. So our Krishna consciousness has to be deep, has to be intense, has to be fixed. We have to try hard, and sometimes we try hard and it works, sometimes we try hard and it doesn't work, so then we've got to be patient, utsahandischaryat, haryat, enthusiastic, patient, and confident, the other way around, yeah? Confidence, yeah, and daryat means patient. So we have to be very patient, and we have to look at Krishna consciousness, not something we're into for 5 years or 10 years. It's like, a dog is not just for Christmas, right? They have that sticker, that bumper sticker. Pet is not just for Christmas. So when you look at Krishna consciousness, right, I'm going to do this for my whole life. Because even Krishna in Bhagavad Gita, 8th chapter, he says that Mam antikalecha mameva. At the time of death, if you think of me, immediately you're free. Yapashati samadvatam. Yomam evas Yomam smarati nityasa. Mameva. At the end of your life, if you remember Krishna. So Krishna is talking about your whole life up to the point of death. You have to try in Krishna consciousness. So when we approach Krishna consciousness from that angle, that okay, this is something I'm going to develop over my whole life, then it becomes a different thing. And that's actually what's needed. You have to make it your whole life. And we have difficulty with that because sometimes we may have family members who are not Krishna conscious, we have to live with them, we have to go to work, we have all these obstacles about developing Krishna consciousness. So we have to find some way. Like a snake, you know, when a snake moves, it goes to the right and to the left like this, but you don't know which way it's going to go. So you have to be like that. You have to learn how to get through the material life. You're going to have some people, you know, they're just starting out, they're going to have children, they're going to send their kids to school, they're going to have to make money, pay a mortgage, all these things. Other people are more retired, they're older. So it's different for everyone, everyone's individual. But you've got to make it your life, Krishna consciousness, somehow or other. The most important thing. Because as this verse says that everything in the material world is temporary, illusory, and if you're lamenting for it, you're Sudra. Sudra means a low-class, unintelligent person. So, you know, we're dying at every moment, people are dying all over the world at every second. We've died 100,000 times in our past bodies. It's no big deal. But we take it as a big deal because we are in illusion. So we have to become a bit sober, a bit strong, fixed up. But we have to be kind and caring and compassionate. When Arjuna went on the battlefield, he was compassionate and caring because he's a devotee. But the other side, they didn't think like that because they weren't devotees. So it doesn't mean, being a devotee doesn't mean to be uncaring. It's the opposite. But you do it with knowledge and a lack of lamentation. Lamentation is not good quality. So I'm a bit kind of around the houses this evening. But you can help me if you have any questions or discussion. Yes,
and Gita, and it's animal life, karma yoga, jnana yoga, and bhakti yoga. I was just wondering if you could just talk on the subject of the transition between karma yoga to jnana yoga.
Yeah. So, when we in the material world we have material desires. So in ancient Vedic culture, people were very much into material enjoyment, but they didn't do sinful activities. So, as part of their material enjoyment, they had to do a lot of, very strict kind of pious activity, and they didn't do impious activity. So they respected their elders, they brought up their children, there was no divorce. They lived very religious lives, you could say, but they enjoyed. So their duties were good karma, all good karma. That's karma yoga. So they worshipped God and they enjoyed the material world, and they didn't do sin. And so at the end of their life, they would maybe go to the heavenly planets, because they did all sorts of religious rituals, and they gave money to, and they protected old people, and they protected and they gave money to the temple, and they were part of a very, spiritual culture. Now this gradual process, once they go up to the heavenly planets and they've taken birth 100 times and enjoyed like anything, they start to realize, I'm still suffering. I still got to grow old, I still got to die. I'm a bit bored of enjoying my senses in this world. So then they start to develop jnana, knowledge. So then they get into renunciation, because knowledge brings, or the goal of this fruit of enjoyment is to become detached. So they start to become detached from material life, and then they may become yogis or scholars, or take to ashram, spiritual life, where they become renunciates. They give up family life. So then they are at the platform of jnana, and when jnana, they start to worship God with that jnana, then it's jnana yoga. So the karma yoga, because they did karma, but they worship God at the same time.
Right action.
Yeah, right action with God worship.
Yeah.
Otherwise it's just karma.
Yeah.
So jnana yoga, they start to think about God like that. And then when Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, after many births and deaths, bahunam janmanamante jnana bhamam prapajante sama vasudevam savamiti sama atmasudurva. So after many births and deaths, the wise realize that I am everything, that I'm what they're looking for, and they surrender to me. Okay? So that's the thing. But for us, Lord Chaitanya, Srila Prabhupada, Krishna, especially Lord Chaitanya, they're saying don't even do karma yoga, don't even do jnana yoga, just immediately do this bhakti yoga, because it's Kali Yuga. We're not even trained how to do good karma, and there's very little opportunity for us to do good karma, and it's not really going to be strong enough to elevate us very fast. So when you do bhakti, jnana and karma are not required.
Okay, so we can go straight to it, basically. That's the goal.
Straight to Krishna.
Straight to Krishna.
Straight to Krishna.
That's bhakti. Yeah.
Pure bhakti.
Pure bhakti.
So one of our acharyas, he said, don't do the pious activities mentioned in the Vedas, and don't do the impious activities. Do neither piety or impiety. Just fix your mind on Krishna.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
And Krishna is the root of all existence, and because you're a spirit soul, you're part of Krishna. When you connect to him, all your other duties are fulfilled. You don't need to do anything else. If Krishna is satisfied, why do you need to go and do some other? And another feature of the jnana yogis, these big yogis, they get a bit bored trying to be God conscious without Krishna. So they come down and they start opening hospitals and doing charitable work, but it's useless. Like if I save you from a disease, you still got to die. But if I give you Krishna, then you're deathless. You've attain nectar. So you don't need to do jnana, you don't need to do karma, you don't need to do renunciation or cultivate knowledge separately, but you do have to hear Bhakti Yoga, divine knowledge, Krishna's pastimes, and all the stories in the Bhagavatam, and all the incarnations, and gradually get to know Krishna and Vrindavan, Krishna's pastimes. This is called Divya Gyan, or transcendental knowledge, as opposed to ordinary knowledge. So it becomes quite not technical, it becomes kind of, oh, we're not meant to do Gyan, but we've got to cultivate this knowledge of Krishna, you see. So when Prabhupada's talking about cultivating knowledge on the positive way, he's talking about hearing about Krishna directly. Does that make sense? Is that clear? So it can be tricky. Devotees have been asking this question over and over again. What's this Gyan? And we've got to do Gyan, we've not got to do Gyan, you see, so you get technical. But the Gyan of dry speculative knowledge is to be given up. We're forgetting speculation now. We know Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and to serve Him is the ultimate duty of the soul. And he does that, he doesn't need anything else. Once there's so many verses like that. So, Bhukti Mukti Siddhi Kami. The Kamis are full of desires. They want to enjoy. The Yogis, they want mystic powers. The Jnanis, they want liberation. They want freedom from birth and death. But the Bhaktas, the devotees, they don't want anything. So they're the only ones who are peaceful, because they're just serving Krishna. And whatever Krishna gives them or takes away from them, that's all right. So Bhukti Mukti Siddhi Kami, Shanta, they become peaceful. Does that make sense? So our business, work-conditioned souls, we're struggling with our mind and senses, is not to worry about doing anything but chanting Hare Krishna and hearing about Krishna. It's a very easy process, actually. It's a very pleasant process. Susukam katam avyayam. And it's directly perceived. You directly perceive the benefit. Raja Vidya, Raja Guyam. This is the king of all knowledge, and Guyam is the most secret knowledge. Why is it secret? Because you only get it when you meet the devotees and hear from them. You can't get it anywhere else. And this is the real quality of the soul, to surrender to Krishna, you see. So who doesn't surrender to Krishna? People who are proud, and whether they're materially proud or they're spiritually proud. Both of them don't want to serve Krishna. The materially proud, they're just too absorbed, trying to enjoy the material world. And the spiritually proud, they think Krishna is a material thing. He's just part of Maya as well. We're all God, I'm God, you're God. Why should I serve Krishna? So they're the worst people, actually. Atheists, no problem. You can discuss with atheists and defeat them very easily. But the spiritually, I know what is God, they're the most difficult. They're the people to avoid, actually. Because deeply, they're envious of Krishna, actually. And we have to avoid them. Because they're very tricky. They're very tricky. And in India there's many big yogi gurus who are not lovers of Krishna. Isn't it? They look very powerful. They do a lot of austerity, big celibate yogis, but they're not devotees. So it's very dangerous. They're very dangerous people. So devotees, he's very soft-hearted, he's very humble, he always wants to serve Krishna and chant the glories of Krishna and hear the glories of Krishna and worship the deity, take prasadam. Nice life, best life. So being a devotee is the best life. It's the most opulent position in the material world. Freedom from anxiety.
Another question. So the question might arise, so this is why I'm asking the question. So if Jnana Yoga and Karma Yoga is ultimately meant to be given up, why is it mentioned in the first place? Why doesn't it say we just go straight to Bhakti?
Well, Prabhupada's Bhagavad philosophy, Bhagavad path is straight to Bhakti. But the Vedic culture and the Vedas, they are, because we're in the material world, they give so much information about how to achieve all types of material enjoyment, up to going to all these heavenly planets, the different heavenly planets. Unbelievable enjoyments are there. So let's say you go to the heavenly planet, you enjoy like anything, and there's no sin there, but you can enjoy very beautifully, very happily. There's no machines there. You don't need a Ferrari and a Rolls, you don't need a big, it's all natural, forests and fruits and beautiful heavenly women and all this kind of thing. But when your time runs out, when your credit runs out, it's literally punya, you have to fall down. So, I'm going long story short. So, it's there because bhakti is hidden. Bhakti is very confidential, it's very secret. And people are not going to take to it until they've gone through all of this heavenly enjoyments and all this dharmic paths and mystic yoga, and they've been all over the universe. So the Vedas don't talk about it openly, directly, immediately. They prescribe a very gradual path because you've come to the material world to enjoy. So you're not going to listen to them anyway. So they've encouraged you to do all this enjoyment that will gradually lead to your detachment. But in Kali Yuga, none of them things work. Therefore, it's the best time actually to be here now with Lord Chaitanya's mercy and immediately take the bhakti. That's why Vyasadeva wrote Bhagavatam right at the end, after he compiled all the Vedas. He wasn't satisfied. So they prescribe gradual path. And most of it's karma kanda, worship of the demigods. And then there's a Vedanta Sutra is the end of all the Vedas. There's the Vedanta Sutra, which is a philosophy. And then Bhagavatam is a natural commentary on Vedanta Sutra by the author. So at the end of all material enjoyment, you come to jnana, knowledge. Okay, all this heavenly, wonderful enjoyment that the material universe offers is actually illusory, temporary, and it doesn't satisfy my soul. Therefore, let me now give it up. And to give it up, I need to train my intelligence, control my senses. But then the bhaktas, they're tasting the sweet fruit of the ripened fruit of the Vedic desire tree. Nigalma kapataro galitam palam sukhamukadamritam drava sangyatam pibata bhagavatam rasam alayam mabudaho rasika bhuva bhavikaha. So this is the ripened fruit of the Vedic desire tree. And it's become even more sweet because Shukadeva Goswami has tasted it with his mouth. He's spoken the Bhagavad from his lips. So it's become more sweet, and it's who wants to taste this sweetness? The most intelligent people. You and me, here tonight. And Dharma Koitava Atra Sama Dharma Koitava Atra. The verse before that says, this Bhagavatam kicks out all cheating religion, cheating motivated spiritual paths where I get to enjoy. That's cheating. Our path is Krishna will enjoy from me. I will make Krishna happy, and this is my happiness. Dharma Koitava Atra Samasana. Homepage.
Dharma Project Kaitava.
Yeah. Next bit. I'm stuck. I need. Anyway. Dharma Koitava Atra. I used to know it so well. Hare Krishna. I'll get home tonight and I'll just be able to remember it. It's when you get on the hot seat you can't remember anything. So this is a beautiful question, and
Lord Chaitanya.
yeah.
Actually, Lord Chaitanya has made it very easy.
Yeah.
And he's cutting all that because we don't have so much intelligence in Buddhism, right?
Yeah.
People are less intelligent. So Lord Chaitanya has made it so easy to get rid of all those Kama Yoga, Jnana Yoga, and just chant Hare Krishna.
Just chant Hare Krishna.
And you can attain the highest result. But
Kali.
not a lot of people, like in India,
They don't know.
they don't know Lord Chaitanya.
Yeah.
Because Lord Chaitanya is hidden. He's Krishna.
Chana Avatar.
He's come as a hidden incarnation. And so therefore a lot of people do not understand this. And they need to be told by a devotee who knows. Therefore, it's a very fortunate situation to be in, to know this esoteric philosophy
Yeah.
in Vedas. And just by chanting Hare Krishna, you can achieve the highest result.
Yeah, it's like how I started with this temple in India. I spent one night in Bombay. They were just doing Bharatanatyam dances, and it was like, you know, if they were chanting Hare Krishna, if they chanted Hare Krishna in that temple, did Kirtan, that's Lord Chaitanya's process. But the Brahmins are all there, they do the puja, the people come, take darshan, give some fruit, maybe watch a performance, listen to a little, but they don't chant Hare Krishna. Therefore they're not really being able to rise above. See, we're in the modes of nature, you know, we're attracted to the material world, but the chanting lifts you up. It gives you just enough spiritual strength to refrain from gross sense gratification and make progress. Because it's revealed in the heart. It's not something you can mentally approach. You can't, you know, your intellect, your mental ability can only take it so far. The realization comes from within the heart, and this is what nourishes you. And you only get realization by performing the yajna, the yuga dharma, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama. Dharma Koitava Kaitava Atra Paramani Matsaranam Satam Vejam Vastam Atra Vastu Shivanam Tapatrayam Bhuranam Srimad Bhagavate Mahamuni Kriti Kimva Parerishvaro Sajjo Rijya Rujate Trakriti Be Shushushushpichanat. Completely rejecting all religious activities which are materially motivated, this Bhagavad Purana propounds the highest truth, which is understandable by those devotees who are fully pure in heart. The highest truth is reality distinguished from illusion for the welfare of all. Such truth uproots the threefold miseries. That's the first one.
It says that it is for people that are pure at heart.
That are?
It says that it is for people that are pure at heart.
Pure in heart, yeah.
And in the introduction to that verse, it says that this book is for Paramahamsas. I'm not Paramahamsa, I don't know how many Paramahamsas in this room. But when you say only chant and sing doesn't work. Chant and sing.
Does it work?
Doesn't work.
Sin.
Chant and sin.
That doesn't work.
Sin.
Yeah, so we got to get spiritual strength to stop
Sinning.
Yeah.
But we have to know what sin, because people don't know what sin is. People now think, oh, I'm not sinning, I've never heard of nobody.
So sinful life means intoxication, illicit sex, meat eating and gambling. These are the 4 pillars of sinful life. Not so easy for us to follow them. We've all been trained up how to enjoy. But Prabhupada, first thing he did was got all his disciples married. He said, you must be married. And the boys and girls, they all came to him. They were hippie young people, and he got them married. Vedic sacrifice marriage with mantras and flowers, so they went for it. But this is very important for us. So any ladies have a question, comment, topic? So people generally, they have this knowledge, Nitya Siddha Krishna, Prema, Sava Siddhi Boy, it's already there inside everyone. This knowledge. It's already within everyone. And just like a wood can catch fire in the right conditions, the fire is dormant in the wood. It's there already. And if you apply heat, the wood will catch, the fire will come out. So when you hear and chant about Krishna, your natural consciousness comes out. We all took up chanting Hare Krishna. We're born in the West. We're born from South America. I mean, you couldn't get any further away from India if you tried.
The opposite.
Yeah, opposite side of the world. But the Hare Krishna mantra reverberates with the soul, not with the body, not with the conditioned mind. You're English for one life only. Your next life you might be you'll be somewhere else. So this is where Krishna starts his knowledge here in the Bhagavad Gita, 2nd chapter, that this body is illusory, temporary, and nothing to do with us ultimately. But we have to function in the world with the body. So we have to use the tongue and the ear for hearing and chanting, the mind for thinking of Krishna, the tongue for tasting prasadam and vibrating the glories of Krishna, our legs for walking to the temple, our hands for doing some service for Krishna. In this way we can utilize all the subtle parts of the body, mind and intelligence, and the senses, the gross part, in Krishna's service. This is the different details of devotional service that engages everything, every part of us. Prana, Artha, Diya, Vacha. Our life, our wealth, our intelligence, our speech can all be engaged in Krishna's service under the direction of the higher authority, the spiritual master, our Lord Krishna, and Bhagavad Gita. Prema and Kirtan, you're there. So this prasadam soon. And this is the easiest part of Krishna consciousness and the most ecstatic. Not the most ecstatic. Kirtan is the most ecstatic. Prasadam is very nice. Any last points? Everybody satisfied? Thank you so much for coming. And keep chanting Hare Krishna, and gradually you'll realize Krishna. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Prabhuji, for your very ecstatic class, and I'm sure everyone really enjoyed it. Yeah. Yes? Yes. So say 3 Hari Bols.
Hari Bol!
Hari Bol!